Welcome, everybody, and thank you for being here for what for me is a very important and a very exciting opportunity to share something that we're doing in the state of Tennessee. Our team talks frequently about how it is that we can impact the people in our state, the most vulnerable in our state, how we can use our lives to make life better for those, especially those who are helpless and who need the help of others. So today, we are announcing a historic investment in a public-private partnership to end human trafficking in the state of Tennessee. It is a tragedy, human trafficking. It is a demand-driven crime that exploits individuals and humans for labor, for services, for commercial sex. It's one of the fastest growing criminal enterprises in the country and including in our state. We have cases of human trafficking in every single one of our 95 counties. So this year I've included in my budget $5 million to invest in nonprofit organizations that are at the forefront of this issue. We are proud that Tennessee has some very important and very significant nonprofits engaged in this. We're also proud that our state has been recognized as one of the strongest in combating human trafficking crimes. Solving the problem of human trafficking involves hard work on both ends. On the pursuit of those involved in the crime and on the restoration of those victims engaged and involved in this as well. Many individuals, many organizations have been leading in this for many, many years in this state, and many of them have joined us here today. We're proud of the organizations in Tennessee that have recognized this problem and that have been so engaged in it. Many of them for many years, many of them folks that I have known for a long time. Mary Trapnell is here with us, the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. We have organizations here, some of which you'll hear from. Sheila McLean will be speaking, a survivor, an advocate who works with Thistle Farms, another local organization that has had national acclaim for the work that they've done. You're going to hear from Margie Quinn, the CEO of End Slavery Tennessee, who also has been a national voice on this issue and brings 25 years of expertise to fighting human trafficking. And we're also grateful to have another guest here that you might recognize. He is a man of faith. He is a leader and has been on the football field. But Tim Tebow has also been a national voice on the issue of human trafficking. We spent some time together this morning, and we talked about the travesty of this issue that exists globally, but exists right here in this state as well. And we're grateful for the voice that he brings to this and to the work that his organization, combined with the organizations that we have here in Tennessee, we're grateful for the opportunity that we have to, in fact, end this crime, certainly reduce it to the degree that we can across Tennessee. As we partner with nonprofits, with the community, with the faith community, with churches, with law enforcement, members of law enforcement, and our agencies are in here today. As we partner together, we can win this fight, and we can be advocates for the women and the children that need us to do this work. And I'm incredibly proud of the opportunity that we have today. This is an attack. Human trafficking is an attack on the dignity of every human being. And together we can end it, we can bring hope, and we can bring restoration for victims of this crime. So thank you for being here. Thank you for each of you for joining us today, and proud to have you up here. Thank you. Would you like to step up?
Good morning. I'm Margie Quinn, and I'm the CEO of End Slavery Tennessee. Thank you, Governor Lee, and members of the General Assembly who are here. for this historic investment in community-based human trafficking survivor services. I am honored to represent In Slavery Tennessee in Nashville with collaborative partners from the Tennessee Anti-Slavery Alliance, Executive Directors Natalie Ivy from Grow Free Tennessee in Knoxville, and Rachel Haga of Restore Corps in Memphis. Together, our three agencies provide services to human trafficking survivors covering all of Tennessee's 95 counties by region, and are the single point of contact for law enforcement, the Department of Children's Services, and other emergency referral services. The single point of contact agencies respond to every referral for aftercare 24/7, 365, and collaborate and collect data from additional specialized community partners in our regions. I'm also honored to share this space with our partner at Thistle Farms in Nashville. In doing this work with trafficked persons, it has become increasingly clear that safe and stable housing is the most crucial need for survivors to exit exploitation and work towards an independent, healthy life. When an agency can provide or support safe and stable housing, therapy, addiction counseling, medical needs, and so much more can be addressed. It is most likely that a trafficking survivor has experienced complex trauma and suffers from mental health issues as a result. The survivor is often a drug user or addicted and has experiences in the criminal justice system going in and out of our jails and prisons. Without a plan to treat all of these co-occurring issues simultaneously, recovery is difficult, if not impossible. In February, the five-phased plan to build a community campus of healing, housing, and hope and intensify programs was nothing but a dream for In Slavery Tennessee. We understood the areas in service delivery that needed enhancing. So we sent this big dream in the form of a proposal to the governor. Today, we know that dream can become a reality. We asked survivors to imagine the impossible. We had to expect the same from ourselves. If one can't dream it, it cannot become a reality. On behalf of human trafficking survivors of the present and future, In Slavery Tennessee is grateful to be presented with this incredible opportunity to enhance the healing services needed to address the complex trauma survivors face and provide safe, stable housing opportunities and to foster restoration. Governor Lee and the General Assembly's stance on human trafficking further ensures Tennessee will continue to lead in the nation on addressing the second fastest growing crime in the United States by providing healing services, housing solutions, and hope strengthened. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Governor Lee, for giving us a reason to come together today to talk about a solution to a problem that I am all too familiar with. My name is Sheila McLean, and I am a leader, a wife, a mother of two amazing teenagers, and a survivor of human trafficking who wondered for 22 years if anyone cared. In 2004, I was introduced to Thistle Farms by an outreach on Murfreesboro Road, which was founded 25 years ago here in Nashville to give women survivors of trafficking, prostitution, and addiction a second chance at life. To be honest, today I acknowledge that Thistle Farms gave me a first chance at life, at love, and at having a family, and at a career I never thought possible. When Thistle Farms opened its first home in 1997, it created a new model for victim-centered care, one more focused on building a community and not just treating a room full of clients. As many of you know, our motto is that love heals. This may sound funny, but what I see our state doing today, creating more trauma-informed, victim-centered services, is an incredible act of love. And guess what? It heals. The work that Thistle Farms and all of the organizations here today do is important. I know because this work changed my life. Last Friday, I walked across the stage in Knoxville and received my master's degree in social work from the University of Tennessee. Today, Today, I am the director of Thistle Farms Residential Services, leading the same program at Thistle Farms that saved my life and has saved the lives of hundreds of other women. I am in awe of where our state is going. I am grateful to Governor Lee and to our state lawmakers for recognizing the problem, and most of all, I am hopeful for the partnerships and relationships represented in this room that will help hundreds of women on the streets today find their way home. Thank you.
What's up, guys? Dang, I got to follow that. Sheila, thank you so much for sharing your story, for what you're doing for Thistle Farms, the impact that you've had on so many, that they've had on so many women for so long. Thank you so much for being willing to share that with us. Ms. Margie, thank you so much for In Slavery, Tennessee, and everything that you guys are doing, and we're so grateful. I'm just honored to be able to share the stage with you guys, and humbled to be able to do it, and to just be a tiny part of trying to help come alongside of y'all. And Governor Lee, thank you so much for everything that you're doing, but for not making this about politics, making this about people. Because ultimately, that's why we're here. This has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with people. This has to do with 40.3 million people around the world that need us, that need you. I want to thank everybody that's here, that's a part of this fight, that's making a difference. I want to thank Blake Harris, dude in the back, who I met, Chief of Staff for Governor Lee's awesome. And I want to thank actually Luke Bryan and Caroline Bryan, who is the one that introduced us over at Luke's restaurant not even 3 months ago. And we were having dinner, and Blake was there, and we start talking and sharing our heart, and Luke knew my heart for it, and Blake's heart, and we sat down, we started talking, and I love it because less than 3 months later, we're here and we're planning because you guys care, because Blake, you cared enough to bring it to Governor Lee, and Governor Lee, you cared enough to do something about it, and we're here with urgency because this demands a response. And you've responded, and we're grateful for that. And so many of you, and I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Whether you're in the media or whatever you're doing, you play a part in this because you need to tell the story of what's happening, of what's going on. I'll tell you, for me, when my life changed was when I was 15 years old, and I was in the jungles of the Philippines. I met a boy who was viewed as a throwaway, who was viewed as cursed because he was born looking different than everybody else. And that changed my life to a place where I knew that I love sports, but I knew I was called to something different. And that was to fight for people that can't fight for themselves. And our mission statement, to bring faith, hope, and love to those needing a brighter day in their darkest hour of need. This is people in their darkest hour of need that need faith, hope, and love. A few years after that, my dad was in a remote country preaching at an underground pastors' conference. And where he was, there was 4 girls not too far away that were being sold. He took out all the money in his wallet, which was $1,200, and he purchased them to rescue them because he knew whoever else was going to buy them was not going to do something good. So he called me and he said, Timmy, I just bought these 4 girls. And he wasn't prepared for everything that was next, but he couldn't not do something about it because this demands a response. By him, by me, by you, by everything that they're doing. It demands a response. We have to respond. He responded, I'm grateful, and he called us. And I said, I don't know what to do, but we're going to find out. I think we built probably one of the fastest safe homes in history for those girls. The first few nights, we hid them at in a church. And we built one of the fastest safe homes we've ever heard about for those girls. And that was the first 4 we had the chance to love and care for and to help restore. This is a big fight. And why we're here is because we need everyone in this fight. Because I realized several years ago we couldn't win it by ourselves. We need everybody in this fight. We have 5 non-negotiables at the Tim Tebow Foundation. Number 1 is that we're believers. We're believers in a big God. We're believers that we're here for a reason. We're believers that we can create change. That's why we're here. We believe that we can create change. Number 2 is that we're all image bearers. Everyone has worth. Everyone has value. Everyone is worth fighting for. Number 3 is that we're on a rescue mission. See, we're on a rescue mission because that's what Jesus was on for us, and that's what we need to be on for humanity. A rescue mission. And we're grateful for all the lives that you have changed. We're grateful for the lives that you're changing, because you're on a rescue mission for them. And you see, why we call it a rescue mission is because there's a timeline. It's not just organizations or nonprofits or just something good to do. No, it's a rescue mission. See, that puts a timeline on it. There's a sense of urgency, and we don't want to live on our timeline. We want to live on theirs. For all the girls that might not have tomorrow. And what they do have today isn't good. That's why there's a sense of urgency with this group up here and hopefully with you. And we don't want to live on our timeline. We want to live on theirs. Number 4 is there's power when we come together. There's power when all of us come together. But also we want to encourage and inspire this with other states and churches and nonprofits and businesses and individuals that are coming together. Because like I said, we can't end it by ourselves. But you know what? If there's an army of people that say no longer on our watch, but we're going to come together, watch the impact that we can have. And I still don't know if we'll be able to end it, but watch the dent we'll make. Because I believe it'll be a big one. And number 5 is that we can never forget. We can never forget the blessings that we have, that God has given us. We can never forget about all the lives that we haven't gotten to yet. We have to stay motivated. We have to remember everyone has worth, everyone has value, everyone is worth fighting for, period. We're believers. We're all image bearers. We're on a rescue mission. There's power when we come together, and we can never forget. We have to stay motivated. For us, it's not just enough to help some, rescue some, restore some. But it's about all, because all are worth fighting for. We ask one of our survivors if you could tell the people in this room one thing, what would you want them to know? And she said, where do you run if you have nowhere to run? Well, I'll tell you this. There's somewhere you can run. There's somewhere you can run. We hope we're a place that you could run to. But more than that, we're going to come running to you. Wherever you are, wherever you're at, we're running to you because your life has worth, has value, and we love you even though we haven't met you. Thanks so much for being here, and God bless you guys.
Thank you, sir. You thought you had a bad act to follow. Good thing I'm not following that act. I'm just going to wrap it up. Thank you all for being here. I see Lieutenant Governor McNally and Speaker Sexton standing there, along with members of the General Assembly. As Tim said, this is a partnership. We have to all come together. There are moments in the work that we do, every single one of us, in the places that we have found ourselves, there are moments where we recognize that we do have an opportunity in a profound way to serve those who cannot help themselves. And this is an opportunity for us. So we're grateful, and it will take the partnership. And the General Assembly, by the way, and the reason I acknowledge this, the leaders, the speakers, and members, we are working together to make sure that we as government, because this partnership is the government along with the private sector, along with the nonprofits, along with the churches, along with the people and the individuals out there who want to work together on behalf of these children and on behalf of these women. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this. Especially thank everyone who's come today that is engaged in this incredibly important issue. You've been doing this for long before we got engaged at the state level here, and we're grateful for that. So thank you. Thank you very much for being part of the program. We will now take opportunity to answer questions from the press. And I think we'll keep our partners up here, and if you don't mind being open for questions or comments if anyone has any for you all. But happy to open it up. Jonathan?
I have one question for Tim. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask for my sports counterparts.
You're welcome to say
that. Do you plan on signing with the Jaguars?
Shocking that that was brought up.
What's it been like trying to learn a new position at this point in your career?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah, that way they can hear you.
I would say that today, that's not the focus. Today is about every life that's being trafficked in the state of Tennessee and around the country and around the world. And I think it's important at times that we know how to keep the main thing. And the main thing right now is that we're trying to rally an army of people to rescue people that are being trafficked. And right now, on average, girls are being raped 5.3 times per day. My wife even hates it when I say that because it's staggering. But that's why we're here, is so that tomorrow she's not getting raped. That's more important than a game will ever be.
Another question for Tim. I think you're getting $1 million or $1.2 million from the state of Tennessee. How are you going to, what will you be able to do with that?
Try to rescue, restore, and love and care for as many girls as possible in partnership with these organizations and Lower and East Tennessee, and building safe homes and collaborations and rallying with these organizations to love and support and build safe homes as fast and as quickly and care for as many women as possible.
So I mean, will this work be done in Tennessee? Or?
Yes, sir.
Governor, you have been briefed on the I-40 bridge in Memphis. If so, you are from that situation as well.
Well, one thing we've learned is that clearly investments in infrastructure in this country are needed, and infrastructure is roads and bridges, and that's what we need to be spending the dollars that are coming from the federal government eventually for. That would be true for that bridge as well. I'm also pleased that the process works. We have a regular inspection process between Arkansas and Tennessee for that particular bridge. And it was that inspection process that actually revealed the crack before it became an incident. What we know is that the Corps of Engineers are engaged, the Coast Guard is engaged because there are decisions to be made about barge traffic under that bridge. Traffic is being rerouted in Memphis to other bridges and other crossings for the Mississippi. And we've been on the ground, Department of Transportation. The Commissioner Clay Bright was there yesterday. We will ultimately be partnering for and be in part responsible for the repair of the bridge. So that's what we know to date. There's still a lot of information we need to learn, but that's where we are today.
And that's just one of hundreds of structurally deficient bridges that can see both owned by the state and by the local county government. You talked about the federal government should use money for you to use at your discretion, really give you a lot of leeway to spend that money. Are you looking at any of that spending to fix some of these bridges that many of which are still open and people are still driving over these?
Yeah, we do have a regular inspection process and a regular cadence for repair for those. That's why we're so interested in what the federal dollars for the infrastructure, the future infrastructure plan are going to be. But our Department of Transportation has a regular process for inspection and repair for those bridges, and we use our dollars for that.
Governor, some of the legislators during the budget process a couple of weeks ago raised questions about you putting money in your supplemental budget for out-of-state foundations, and that would include the Tebow Foundation, to deal with human trafficking. Were there not other nonprofits in Tennessee that could fill that role, and did you scour the state for others? What happened?
I think what you see right here is exactly what happened, which is an awesome display of partnership local organizations, multiple organizations right here in Tennessee, partnering with national organizations who have unique expertise in this subject. You know, what matters most to me are the women and the children, and bringing together the right people who have the right experience and the right ability to convene. That's what's most important to us. So we did scour, and we did our best to put together what we believe is going to be the right team. And let me just say, these are not the only partners. There are partners all across this state. There are churches all across this state. Part of what we're hoping to do right here is engage partnership. So we can do a very limited, you've heard me say plenty of times, government's not the answer to the greatest challenges we have in our day, and the government is not the answer to human trafficking. The answer is found in the people and those who actually, as Tim said, decide to do something about it. So we hope that this will facilitate and engage and inspire churches, nonprofits, organizations, individuals to find out how they can be involved in rescuing women and children in Tennessee. Natalie?
Governor, you all talked some about housing for these victims of trafficking. I mean, can you get any more clarification on what this $5 million is going for besides housing for victims of trafficking, and also a sense of how prevalent this problem is in Tennessee? So, how do you determine who is a trafficking victim, and how many do you think are here in the state?
You know, Marjorie, why don't you, I think an expert can answer those questions probably better than I can, so why don't you try to address that?
Thank you, Governor. There was a lot to unpack right there. The last assessment that we did in the state was in 2010, and it was at the behest of the General Assembly. There was a public chapter passed in 2010, Public Chapter 1023, which called for a quantifying and qualifying research to be conducted in the state to do just that, to assess across our 95 counties how much trafficking was occurring, where was it occurring, how was it occurring, and what was its impact on children and youth. It was historic and it was groundbreaking, and we were the first state in the nation to conduct that kind of training, that kind of research. TBI and the Vanderbilt Center for Community Studies partnered on that, but that was the last time a sort of a baseline number was assessed. At that time, 78% of Tennessee's counties were reporting juvenile sex trafficking, and 85% of Tennessee's counties were reporting adult trafficking. When I presented those results to the director of the TBI, he said, Margie, that's the lowest those numbers are ever going to be. Because once we start to train people what to look for, how to identify a trafficking victim, where and how it's occurring in these counties, the numbers are only going to go up. And so I think that's what we're seeing. When I retired from the TBI, we had hundreds of cases open on trafficking. I was supervising over 100 cases, and about half of those were under indictment. So I think there's a plethora of cases that are occurring both to adults and children in our state. And I think we have geographical gaps in services, and I'm hopeful that the Tebow Foundation will come in. They've already been very collaborative in the last 6 weeks to work with us to try to fill the gaps, both geographically as well as in service delivery in the state of Tennessee. Was there another question?
Yeah, and besides housing, how else is that $3.5 million your organization is receiving going into this?
Yeah. We had a 5-phased plan that we proposed to build out a campus, understanding that housing is really at the sort of the core of what a survivor needs. If they can't afford safe, stable housing, there's no way to work on all the rest of it. If you're just working on addiction, for instance, at the end of the day, you have a very sober, traumatized person, and that is not a recipe for long-term success either. And so what we propose to do is open up a campus where we have transitional housing and intensive programming that is both evidence-based and trauma responsive, so that when a survivor comes in, there's a certain degree of structure, a lot of really intensive programming, and then there will be other structures on that same property. As their evolution and restoration begins, they can move further and further into independent housing, into working. Work is a huge part of being able to sustain a safe and healthy life. So at the end of the day, at the end of that 2-year stay on our campus, you'll be in fully independent housing, maybe paying a little bit of rent. We'll hold that in a nest egg for you. You're building rental history, which most of these victims have no rental history. And they have a nest egg when they leave the property, and they have rental history. And they've had 2 years to work on their trauma and the issues that they have faced. And we think that that's going to be the best chance for success for a restored victim.
I have a follow-up question for you. We've been talking a lot about housing people, jobs, rich mag events. You recently signed a letter with other governors saying, we don't want to accept any of these unaccompanied minors from the border. We don't have an obligation to do it with resources to take care of them. Can you speak to your decision not to accept any of those children and how that squares with your previous decision to want to continue to accept refugees here?
Yeah, so the most important piece of the challenge that we have at our border right now is that we have human trafficking going on with children by the tens of thousands across our southern border. That's exactly what's happening. That's what we need to stop. That's why I joined with governors to speak out against what we believe is an incentive for human trafficking of children. When we distribute children around the country that have been illegally trafficked into this country from other countries, we tell those who've trafficked that they can bring more. And we should stop that. And the only way to stop that is to secure the border. And I'm grateful that President Biden has made a decision, just as of yesterday, to strengthen the border by expanding the border security wall. But the reason we've spoken out so loudly about this is because it is a humanitarian crisis, and it particularly involves children, and we should do something to address it. Stephen?
Well, just as a follow-up on that, what do you think should happen to children who are already in the country?
Well, they should be taken care of. They should be housed by the federal government. They should have a plan for that. Putting that onto the states is not a plan. Asking states in a variety of ways across the country to temporarily house those children with no plan for the future for them, with no plan for education, for placement, permanent placement, that's not a plan. The federal government needs to have a plan for what to do to safely take care of those children. And the greatest thing that the federal government could do is stop the flow of those trafficked children into the country.
This is the last question.
Okay.
Margie or Tim, could you speak a little bit to how the pandemic impacted your ability to find and stop trafficking in Tennessee or other
How the pandemic impacted trafficking. Obviously, we saw a lot lower numbers. In 2019, we, in Slavery, Tennessee, had 307 referrals for service. In 2020, we had about 170 referrals for service. I know the Department of Children's Services here, the commissioners here, we know that calls into the hotline for DCS were also greatly diminished. Our TBI partners are here. They were reporting early that the number of cyber tips that involved the exploitation of children were blowing up, growing exponentially. So the problem is that there was more exploitation going on and less services. There were fewer, and so we think that, and we're starting to see the numbers rise in 2021. Services are going to be in big demand, we think, in the next 12 to 18 months as victims who were exploited and didn't have the opportunity to receive services present themselves to first responders, wherever that might be.